and I'm happy to see such a huge crowd here today for our celebration. I'm Nancy Peters, and I want to thank you all for coming, and to say that today's celebration is a double celebration. We are, first of all, marking this as the grand reopening of City Lights after a year-long period of construction. I want to acknowledge now the tremendous efforts of our staff during that difficult period. I think we moved every book and shelf in this store about 18 times, put up with dust and noise and disruption for a long time. And most of all, I'd like to thank our wonderful customers, that is all of you, who were wonderful in your loyalty and patience and support during this period. So thank you, all of you. The big event today here, of course, is to welcome Janice Mirikitani as San Francisco's second Poet Laureate. Welcome, Janice. We are lucky to have two Poets Laureate here today, Janice and Lawrence Ferlinghetti. And I would just like to say that both Lawrence and Janice are wonderful examples of how poets not only write poetry to inspire and illuminate and to entertain us, but who can make an enormous contribution to the deeper issues of our intellectual life. Lawrence brought poetry out of the academy and into the streets. He has been a tireless fighter for civil liberties and First Amendment rights. And Janice Mirikitani has for many, many years been at the forefront of the movement to diversify literature, to open the way for new writers and readers, and she's made an enormous contribution to expanding opportunities for women and minorities in particular. Welcome, Janice. And we will start our program today with Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Lawrence.
Yeah, I want to particularly welcome Janice as the new Poet Laureate, especially since I fully expect her to be an activist Poet Laureate rather than a quietist Poet Laureate. We have too many quietist, have a nice day poets already. Pablo Neruda, when he received the Nobel Prize in 1971, he said the poet must achieve a balance between solitude and solidarity, between feeling and action, between the intimacy of oneself and the intimacy of mankind. And along those lines, I'll read one prose poem. Still in a rough form. A true American revolutionary. I was a tourist of revolutions, a dilettante of revolutions. I was Whitey without a revolution of my own, or so I thought. So I had to join third world revolutions. I was a Fidelista in 1959. I was a Sandinista in 1989. I thought I was one of them, and perhaps I was. I allowed them to publish my poems in their revolutionary papers. In the Lunes de Revolución, I was a poet. I was a good poet. Right in line with their line. The other days of the week, I might have been something else. Who knows what? I went to Hemingway's bar and looked around, but didn't say anything. and never asked why Papa Hemingway never spoke out for Fidel and the revolution. I was a tourist, and a good one. Here today, gone tomorrow. And when I die without a sound, I'll join the permanent underground. Paul Yamazaki will introduce Janice.
Hi, I'm Paul Yamazaki. I have the great honor and privilege of introducing Janice Mirikitani, we are particularly fortunate as citizens of San Francisco and friends of literature to have two really amazing poet laureates, Lawrence Ferlinghetti and now Janice Mirikitani. I cannot think of anybody more appropriate to succeed Lawrence as poet laureate. I think, in Lawrence's phrase, a laureate activist is really I can not think of a person who fits that description more than Janice. Over the whole course of the last 3 decades, Janice has affected our lives in so many different ways that all of us who have played different parts in Janice's life maybe know different portions of that. And I'd just like to talk a little bit about my personal experiences of watching how fortunate we have been as citizens of San Francisco and how much she's affected our lives here. Just so many of us know Janice as an activist who's worked on the cultural areas, has worked at Glide for many, many years. I think it's appropriate now to say hello to Cecil here and to think of two organizations, City Lights and Glide, that have affected our lives here and the texture of our citizenship here in San Francisco, both on a cultural level, on a political level, and how we lead our lives. And as we're in this period of immense change here, and change that's not all for the good, that it's these two organizations that play two really important parts of keeping the fabric of San Francisco livable for all of us and not just for an elite. Thank you. I think one of the really important things to say about Janice is she has sacrificed her own artistic production for the benefit for all of us, both as artists and as citizens, and she has done so much in the sense of whether it's housing issues, homeless issues of artistic access, just through the whole thing through the neighborhood arts program, the different organizations that she's helped in many ways, both as inspirational and also as direct advice and access. But as a poet, I think it's been my distinct privilege to read Janice's poetry over the last 3 decades, and I think one of the things that I've really noticed is how she's encompassed all of us and how she's grown so deep. And then over the last decade, her poetry has reached a depth and profundity that is really very striking. And I hope there's more opportunity to see more of Janice's more recent work. But as an Asian American activist and as a Japanese American, there's been no other individual, both as an artist and as activist, who has affected our lives. Janice has been, in the very early days, with Francis Oka, who worked here and was actually the person responsible for me being at City Lights, published a very seminal magazine called Ion. And it's, within those pages, we saw a whole generation of Asian American activists and artists emerge. And Janice really was the fountainhead of that. As time went on, shortly thereafter, Time Degrees, before there was a word multicultural, Time Degrees was probably one of the seminal anthologies that came out. And there again, that's Janice's editor and publisher, and that was a collaboration between Third World Communications and Glide Publications. These things have gone on and on. We've only been unfortunate that the only thing I can say that is amiss is that Janice has only published 3 books in those 3 decades, and I'm hoping we're seeing more of that. But without any further ado, it's my great honor to bring Janice Mirikitani up here. And thank you so much, Janice. And thank you all for coming out.
Thank you, Paul. I am really overwhelmed to see all of you. Thank you so much for being here. I know that you're here for Lawrence too, but it's great to see you anyway. I mean, it's wonderful. This is an incredible turnout. And I want to thank Paul for that introduction. Paul actually was responsible for publishing my first book, which is entitled Awake in the River. And Paul, you're, really welcome to publish my fourth book if you'd like. When I came to Glide about 35 years ago, we were also in the throes of a revolution. And I think the revolution was all around us. Whether it was the anti-war movement or the struggles on campuses for ethnic studies, whether it was in the communities fighting for racial justice and dignity, economic justice. Glide also was undergoing a revolution because they had brought on an African-American minister who really was sending shockwaves all through the United Methodist Church. I think when I arrived shortly after, Reverend Cecil Williams took down the cross from the wall of the sanctuary, and I personally thought we were going to get struck down by lightning. But the Methodist Church was truly having a crisis in managing how they were going to deal with the kind of shockwaves that Cecil had brought. But taking down the cross was only one act that he had performed. He brought jazz music back into the church. And we also, I was fortunate enough to engage in some radical liturgy with him, with my degree in literature in hand. And we had what we called quotations from the people, or radical quotations from the people as part of our liturgy. It wasn't enough that we ran away all the nice white Methodists who were there. But it was really amazing because hundreds and thousands of people came in their place. And I think it was because, and one of the first readings that we chose was from Lawrence Ferlinghetti. Which I thought when I read it, was really radical and brilliant. It's from his Coney Island of the Mind. I'm waiting for the rebirth of wonder, and I'm waiting for someone to really discover America and wail, and I'm waiting for the American eagle to straighten up and fly right. Well, I realize now how brilliant and visionary his poetry truly is. He is a true legend in his time, and he is the genesis and the center of a movement that has been a major force for our influencing poetry in our lifetime. His poetry is the voice of the people, and he speaks for a city that is the most diverse and the most expansive in our country. And I am deeply honored to succeed Lawrence Ferlinghetti, San Francisco's #1 poet laureate. Thank you, Lawrence. I'm just going to read a couple of poems, and I chose to read one entitled Girlfriends, and because I think that girlfriends are men too. In fact, one of my male girlfriends asked me if you were going to pass on a tiara, Lawrence. A girlfriend won't talk behind your back. She's no backbiting, man-stealing, you're fat-talking, bad-mouthing, B-word calling, telephone-taping, gossip-hounding woman. Girlfriend wants you to look good. She drives you to the hairdressing, manicuring, treadmilling workout place so you won't be cellulite-dripping, raggedy hag-looking, not your best self. She's a tell-you-like-it-is woman. Girlfriend listens to your secrets about hair-dyeing, bra-stuffing, age-lying secrets, shame-filling, incest, molest, rape secrets, pulling stunts on other women, drank too much last night secrets, fear of failure, shame to succeed secrets. Girlfriend says, that's me, I did that too. Won't use your secrets against you. Girlfriend tells you truth, makes you a cup of tea when you're blue, leaves you be to do what you gotta do. And when the pain gets tough, she stirs her tears into the bread, stirs her tears into the dough, and makes some bread for you. Makes you laugh at yourself into your toast. Girlfriends let us know women don't inherit sorrow. We don't have to be pain-bearing, victim-caring, joy-refusing, mother-worrying, brow-furrowing, menopause, hot-flashing, second sex. Girlfriends put you first, have faces like mirrors, show us the sky spreading within us. Sunlight comes through our smiles, and we rejoice this love between friends. I think I'm going to read 3 poems. Poetry for me has been my act of self-definition and a way in which I look at how I can constantly liberate myself. Lawrence quotes from Neruda, who says that poetry is an act that is solitary, but also an act that is in solidarity. And I think that if this honor says anything for me, it is my hope that I will represent you well, you the messengers who inform me. This poem I wrote in 1980, entitled "Who is Singing This Song?" And I'll just read a shorter version of it. Who is singing this song? I am a floating note on a koto, a thunderstorm steady like taiko. I can be heard humming the blues in rice paddies and desert camps, unraveling barbed wire like silkworm thread. A woman dancing in the ocean swell, searching for pearls in the Pacific. I string them across my eyes, my skin the color of moonlight. Who is singing this song? I am, your own, a child in dark streets, a woman seeking safety in a world of shadows. I am the present, struggling to be free, a crusader in these spiritless prisons, pinnacles to greed and sterility. Who is singing this song? I am, a survivor, a saboteur of stereotypes, image maker, an endless string of speech. We survive by hearing. We discover each other, each of us, yielded by hands of the transplanted, the escapees, the adventurers pregnant with dreams. We explore our similar histories. We ignite ourselves from inside. Our hands are warmed alive. Who is singing this song? I am. Pulled by the hands of history, do not sit in our times complacently. Walkmans plugged to our ears, computer printouts, soap operas lulling us to sleep. We are required by these hands of history to be a storm of hands that wave in protest against violence and assaults against women, race hate crimes, anti-gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender bashing, against invasions, indifference to the poor. A storm of hands that dismantle nuclear weapons of war. Who is singing this song? I am. A sea of beating hands that persuade patriarchies that strength is not force and real power is not oppressing nor patronizing, but shared power among people free, working, creating, passionate. Who is singing this song? I am. We survive by hearing. We speak to each other, offering choices to live, to dream, to extend our hands, to dance, to cringe, to quiver, to kiss, to not kiss. I dare you to love, to dream, to kiss. We survive by hearing. Who is singing the song? I am. It's my chronic dry mouth problem. This last poem is entitled Soul Food, for someone who truly does nourish my soul. And he will be saying a few words after I finish this poem. Soul Food for Cecil. We prepare the meal together. I complain, hurt, reduced to fury again by their subtle insults, insinuations because I am married to you, impossible autonomy, no mind of my own. You like your fish crisp, coated with cornmeal, fried deep, sliced mangoes to sweeten the tang of lemons. My fish is raw, on shredded lettuce, lemon slices thin as skin, wasabi burning like green fire. You bake the cornbread flat and dip it in the thick soup I brewed from turkey carcass, rice gruel, sesame oil, and chervil. We laugh over watermelon and bubbling cobbler. You say there are a few men who can stand to have a woman equal, upright. This meal, unsurpassed. Thank you. Thank you.
Here's my flowers. These are my flowers.
These are his flowers.
Lawrence, you got the folks here. I tell you, man, look here, look. This reminds me of Glide. They line up to get in Glide. Great. There are currents running in San Francisco that speak to our humanity. Those currents have to do with city lights and Glide. There are many people who give those currents swiftness and who help those currents go to the many places where people are thirsty and need to quench their thirst. I am so glad that the #1 poet laureate of San Francisco and now the #2 poet laureate of San Francisco are those kinds of currents which help to quench our thirst for knowledge, our thirst for information, our thirst for understanding, our thirst for compassion, our thirst for getting things done, our thirst for being radical, our thirst for getting on with love and concern for not only our people, but all people, and finally our thirst for people to know that things can happen if people find the currents that give them water so they can pass water on to those who need it in the most deserts of our history. Thank you, Willie Brown, for making these 2 appointments, along with the group that's, I don't know who the group is that selected these 2, but they really made a good choice, I think. No doubt about it. I just want you to know that we will continue to feast from your current. We will continue to make sure that whatever our thirst is, it will be taken care of, because Lawrence Ferlinghetti, listen, to tell you the truth, I heard of this man years ago when I was here. And I mean, he's been around a long time. He's not that old. He's just been around a long time, a long time. But he's got a heart and a mind as big as the world. And so we want to thank you for being our person who helps San Francisco to get on the map. You helped it to get on the map. And I want to thank you, Jan, because you're helping it to get on the map. Thank you very much.
This is Supervisor Alicia Vesrell, who's come here from City Hall to make a special presentation today.
Thank you very much. I think you can tell that this city is blessed with much talent, and I think even if you look at the Reverend Cecil Williams, you might also think that he's a poet as well. He's part of what this city has in terms of its resources and talent and beauty. And I'm glad to be here today, not only to welcome Janice as our new Poet Laureate for 2000, but also to wish Lawrence happy birthday. And I don't know that you've done that already. You might have, because I didn't come here till...
Just sing happy birthday.
Can we please sing happy birthday? Lawrence, please. Wait, ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. And San Francisco is indeed fortunate to have Lawrence. As I understand it, you're a transplant from New York.
That's right.
And he, as well as Janice, if you listen to the words and to their talent, they bring that kind of richness from their background. Lawrence from New York and different experiences that he has. Janice also, in her reading, brought forth that kind of background, that kind of experience, that kind of caring about children, about women, about people, about this city. So we're very fortunate to have all these resources. I'd like to present to Janice a proclamation, a commendation from the Board of Supervisors. This was actually passed when you were first named, but I'd like to present it to you today. And it basically is, I'll go ahead and read it if you don't mind.
Please do.
Whereas on February 7, 2000, Janice Mirikitani was selected to be the city's Poet Laureate for 2000, and whereas she's an accomplished and published poet with over 3 volumes of work, and whereas she's the president of the Glide Foundation and executive director of the Janice Mirikitani Glide Family, Youth, and Child Care Center, and whereas she brings a unique life experience to her work and uses poetry to touch the lives of children and individuals who have suffered prejudice and discrimination, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors and the City and County of San Francisco extends its highest commendation to Janice Mirikitani for her poetry and her efforts and hard work to better the lives of San Franciscans.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. Thank the Mayor for selecting me. And I do truly thank the committee, the selection committee. There apparently is a 7-member Poet Laureate committee.